I took the night duty job because it was supposed to be easy. No customers, no noise, no stress. Just me and an empty building. The manager handed me a clipboard before he left. There were rules. Not many. Just a few simple ones. He didn't explain them. He didn't warn me. He just said, follow them exactly. The building felt old, not abandoned, but tired. The lights hummed softly. The hallways were empty. The air felt still. I stood behind the desk and read the rules. There. Rule 1. Never leave the desk between midnight and 5 a.m. Rule 2. If you hear footsteps, do not look down the hallway. Rule 3. If the phone rings after midnight, answer it, but never speak first. So, I remember smiling. They sounded ridiculous. Like someone was trying too hard to be creepy. I placed the clipboard on the desk and checked the time. 11:43 p.m. Still early. Nothing had happened yet. That's when I noticed something strange. The rules page looked different. Not wrong, just off. The paper was old, but the ink on one rule looked newer, darker, as if it had been written recently. I leaned closer. The words were the same, but the handwriting wasn't. I told myself I was imagining things. Old buildings do that. They mess with your head. I stepped back behind the desk, took a deep breath, and waited. Midnight was approaching, and I had no idea that the rules were about to change. Midnight came quietly. No sound, no signal, no warning. One moment it was still night. The next, it felt different. I glanced at the clock. 12:01. I picked up the clipboard again, and that's when I knew something was wrong. Rule 2 wasn't the same. Earlier it said, if you hear footsteps, do not look down the hallway. Now it read, if you hear footsteps, do not turn around. I stared at the words. I was sure it hadn't said that before. The ink was darker, thicker, almost wet, like it had just been written. My fingers tightened around the clipboard. I hadn't left the desk. No one had passed me. So who changed it? Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Somewhere behind me. Not rushing. Not hiding. Just walking. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around, but I didn't. I stayed perfectly still. My eyes fixed on the wall in front of me. The footsteps continued. One step, then another. Each one closer than the last. I held my breath. Then they stopped. Right behind me. I waited. Nothing happened. No breath. No movement. Just silence. Heavy silence. When I finally dared to look at the clipboard again, my stomach dropped. Rule 3 was gone, completely erased. In its place, a new sentence had appeared, written in the same dark ink. If the rules change, do not question them. My hands started shaking. I set the clipboard down, slowly, carefully, and realized something terrifying. The rules weren't there to protect me anymore. They were there to control me. I tried to ignore the clipboard. I told myself it was just stress, lack of sleep, a quiet building playing tricks on my mind. That excuse didn't last long, because the building started reacting. The lights flickered, not all at once. One by one, down the hallway, like something was moving through them. Slowly, deliberately. I stayed behind the desk. Rule 1 hadn't changed. Yet. I checked the time again. 12:37 a.m. That's when the phone rang. Sharp. Sudden. Too loud for such a silent place. I froze. Rule 3 used to explain what to do, but Rule 3 didn't exist anymore. I stared at the phone. It kept ringing. Once. Twice. 3 times. Each ring louder than the last. Finally, I picked it up. I didn't speak. I remembered that part. For a few seconds, there was nothing. Just breathing. Slow, uneven. So close, it felt like it was coming from the room. Then a voice whispered, "You're late." My stomach dropped. Late for what? Before I could react, the line went dead. The lights above the desk shut off. Not all of them. Just the ones near me. The hallway lights stayed on, bright, focused, guiding my eyes forward. That's when I noticed something new. A piece of paper, lying beside the clipboard. It hadn't been there before. I was sure of it. I picked it up. My hands were shaking now. The paper listed new rules. Different rules. Rule 1, do not leave the desk. Rule 2, do not respond to voices that know your name. Rule 3, if the lights guide you, do not follow. My heart started pounding because someone, somewhere, had just whispered my name. And the lights were still on. Waiting. Inviting. I stood there, caught between the rules and the hallway. That's when it finally hit me. The rules weren't changing randomly. They were changing. Because I was paying attention. Because I was noticing things, learning things, and whatever was controlling this place didn't like that. It wasn't reacting to the building. It was reacting to me. Adjusting, adapting, preparing for what came next. I stayed still. I didn't follow the lights. I didn't break the rules. I stood behind the desk, waiting. The hallway lights remained on, not flickering, not fading, just watching, like they were expecting something. The silence felt wrong now. Not empty. Aware. I checked the clock again. 2:47 a.m. The second hand slowed, then stopped. Time wasn't moving anymore. That's when the clipboard shifted. Just slightly. I looked down. The rules were changing again. Hawaii. But this time, they weren't adding new ones. They were removing them, crossing lines out, simplifying everything, until only one rule remained. Written darker than the rest. Final rule, remain at the desk. My chest tightened, because that rule had never existed before. The hallway lights went out, one by one, moving closer. Until only the desk light remained. Focused. Centered. On me. The phone rang. Once. I didn't answer. A voice spoke anyway. Not from the phone, but from behind me. "You lasted longer than the others?" My body went cold. Others? The chair felt heavier. The desk closer. Like the room was adjusting. Making space. That's when I understood. The rules weren't meant to protect workers. They were meant to find replacements. People who could stay. People who could obey. People who wouldn't run. The clock started ticking again. 3 o'clock a.m., right on schedule. The hallway lights turned back on, but this time, they weren't waiting. They were moving past me. Footsteps echoed down the hall, not coming closer, leaving, like the shift no longer needed anyone else. I sat there, breathing, listening, still following the rules. Because the truth was clear now. The night shift never ends. It just finds someone who stays.